I've been telling Charming about my ongoing battle with my complex's HOA, nightmares and headaches and dealing with HOAs and slumlords and all these things. And I realized that really it's a blessing and a curse because while it's hard to get anything done when you have no money and very difficult people, it's also essentially like a blank slate to kind of do whatever I want when there's no garden, there's nothing there. So when we talked about this project, it was really just it's kind of perfect that I could just start fresh and take it from there. So next slide. So when I bought my townhouse, I like my unit, but the outside is really just a dump. The realtors and neighbors I talked to said that the HOA board didn't have anyone on it, so there was no board. Someone stole the entire reserve, like there was $40,000 in there, just stolen and gone. And I thought, oh, okay, well, all I need to do then is get on the board, fill it with people, and sue somebody to get that money back. How hard could that be? And, well, okay, no one knows who stole the money, and that person probably died 10 years ago, is what people are telling me. So, and then nobody else wanted to join the board, and so this was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. It took me 4 months to get a building manager to even respond to me, but as other people started moving in, other people got excited to kind of turn things around, and there's still a lot of problems, and it's going to take years to fix these things, but for example, some of them are that the pool hasn't had water in it in 15 years, the gate hasn't worked in 7 years, there are unhoused people building camps against my wall, and sometimes using drugs in the carport and sleeping in truck beds. So, we have a ways to go. The landscaping is either non-existent or it's overgrown to the point where it's breaking through the concrete and the slabs and causing very expensive problems. Or people will have random lemon trees, but they're like, it's my lemon tree, you can't have any lemons, so they put chain link fences around the lemon trees because they don't like sharing. And so that's kind of where we are with the landscaping, and then the only other person on the HOA board is just me and this one other lady, and she doesn't like plants. She only likes grass, the kind of grass you see on TV, and she doesn't want any trees or any shrubs, any flowers, because she thinks they will just make the concrete problems worse. And we're just completely opposite people, but you have to work together. So I was thinking, maybe if I show her what this could be, what a nice little native plant garden could look like, then maybe we could kind of make this work throughout the entire complex. And so that was really kind of the goal moving into this. And with all these kinds of serious problems, there's tension, nobody gets along. I was thinking, a nice garden, things looking better, that might be something that could kind of improve morale and really get things going. So I'm hoping that this will be multi-benefit kind of project. And so you can see what I had to work with. Yeah, this one. So my goals for this space, going into this was I wanted everything to be native to California, and ideally to my very specific location where I live. I live in Los Angeles, but towards the valley. I wanted drought-friendly plants that will also feed and have feeds, birds, hummingbirds, butterflies, everything. So no one in my entire side of the complex has any garden whatsoever. It's just a bunch of tarp and dirt and sadness. And so I was thinking, I kind of want to provide the nourishment for all the wildlife that live on this side of the building too. And I want the local wildlife to thrive, but I also want entertainment for my cats when they look out the window to see some birds and chipmunks and birds. I really like looking at lush, overgrown plant life, lots of colorful pink flowers. Really, I just wanted everything pink because I live alone and I like pink, so whatever. And I wanted things that smell good. I really just honestly wanted to feel like Snow White walked around. Just animals, plants, just living it. So also, it's really easy to see from the street through the gaps in my fence, right in my kitchen window. And when that homeless camp was right up against my fence, the that was challenging. So I wanted some privacy. Eventually, I'd like to have a vegetable or herb garden, but at this point, I'd rather have those flowers. And then if it gets too thick, then I'll have to figure it out. I also wanted to help muffle the noise because it's a really noisy neighborhood, and I was thinking air quality was being at 4 or 5. So I'm really looking to accomplish a lot of things with some plants, and I put a lot of faith into plants. Next slide. So yard space. So when I first moved in, the space was nothing more than just clumps of dirt, broken beer bottles. The fence was some iron vertical bars and on 2 sides, and then wood on the third for my emergency exit. Nasty old black sunscreen kind of thing. It's ripped, it's yucky. I probably had to take out about 50 pounds of dirt because there was just too much dirt there, and it floods a lot, so that was really a muddy, ghastly problem for me. And so I ripped out all that stuff, and then these neighbors I had who cut down all these pretty branches, everything you can see here. They also then took down the those vertical bars that you see on that side. They took that down. They put up just a sheet of metal for a fence. So now there's no airflow. It's super hot, but it's more private, so that's something. So I put up these fences, and I keep some airflow in there, and it also helps with the wind too. And then I put down a layer of 3 eucalyptus mulch, which you can get at Griffith Park. It's first come, first served, every day. And so then I kind of stalled at that point, so I was getting overwhelmed about what do I want to plant, where do I want to plant it. So I talked to Charming and my friend Luis about this. And also that tree is wrapped in plastic, so I was trying to experiment with that. I didn't want her to go out there and then run away, but it really did not deter her. So I was thinking, you know what, maybe I'll put something near with thorns so she wouldn't try to climb that tree. You really can't tell a cow what to do, so it's just I gave up. And then I chose Thomas Baker Foundation Nursery because they only have native plants, extremely knowledgeable, they're nonprofit, we have partnerships there with Sierra Club, and it's also just really fun. So now I will tell you about some of the plants that we went with. So, lemonade berry, this is native, found in coastal canyons, grows fast, up to 30 feet tall, it's nice and private, 20 feet wide, it attracts birds, butterflies, and all small insects. The tart berries that grow on it are really important food source for birds and small mammals. It's hardy, it's easy to maintain, which is great because I'm not the best green thumb. It stays green year round without much supplemental water. It's really good for bank stabilization too, and it's a fire retardant. And then sugar bush is a similar plant that might do even better where I am. It's more than 10 miles from the coast. But I like to go on berries. Next. So the California wild rose, it's native to the coast and the foothills up to 6,000 feet. It's an aromatic, which is great for vine resistance. And it attracts bees, butterflies, insects, birds. It's a great barrier plant. It's really thick. So again, nice for that privacy and sound. It gets dormant and drought and it survives to really only needing to be watered less than 3 times a month in the summer. It can get up to 10 feet tall and 10 feet wide. So that's perfect for what I'm looking for. And next is the coast morning glory. So found in the Channel Islands and on the coast from Monterey County all the way down to Baja, Mexico. Blooms over a really long period of time. It's a vining plant and can also be used as ground cover. It's 30 feet wide. It gets bees, butterflies, hummingbirds, and it needs a lot of sun. So morning glories, I lived in a building in Hollywood, and it was fed by nothing other than the condensation from the air conditioner, and it just proliferated over the entire building. It's really great. Next up is blood currant, and it grows from LA to Northern California, close to sea level of 5,000 feet. It's a vining plant, it's aromatic. The berries are a little too bitter for people, but birds like them. It attracts birds, hummingbirds, bees, butterflies, insects. There aren't deer where I live, but they don't like them. And they're again low moisture. Next one is pink honeysuckle. They're native to the Sierra foothills and coast. most prominent in Slow County going north. They're really aromatic and cute. Hummingbirds love it. It also attracts butterflies, insects, birds, hummingbirds. It can be a shrub or a climbing plant, and you really only need to water it once a month in the summer, and it can get up to 8 feet wide. Next up is monkey flower, and that's native of the Central Coast. Attracts hummingbirds, butterflies, insects, bees. It gets up to 5 feet tall. Next up is the iris. It's a Pacific Coast hybrid. This is ground cover now. And so I wanted a lot of ground cover to kind of protect all of these other beautiful nurseries and vine plants. This can get up to 1 to 2 feet tall and wide, and it tolerates really any kind of moisture or sunlight, and hummingbirds like it. And then alum root, got a ton of these. They're also super cheap. Next one is alum root, and it's on the UC Davis Arboretum's All Stars list because it's tough and you can walk on it, and it's recommended under oak trees, which I don't have, but my butterfly garden, so it works for me. And the next one is penstemon. This is the margarita style. This originated in the Santa Margarita area. Another great ground cover, attracts hummingbirds, butterflies, and tolerates a lot of cheese. So next, the way that we planted this, I'll say first, so I wanted the shrub plants to kind of face the street, so they've grown really thick and give me privacy. The other wall that has that sheet metal fence behind it that's super hot and yucky, I thought, well, that one can be climbing plants, so I don't have to worry about privacy. I can have a little more space than these thick shrubs. So we alternated the flowering plants with the ground cover to kind of give them the protection. And then I put the morning glories in the corner because of how fast they grow, so that they might take over some of the other wall while everything else is catching up to grow. And then there's a tree in the corner, and I thought, well, I mean, eventually that could get to be a problem, but for now, I think it would be great growing up a tree. So my garden friend Luis, he read in a book from SoCal Yard Transformation. That's their website. It's a guide to gardening with native plants and SoCal plants. This method, and we watched a video where they also talked about it on Thomas King. So plants, and other people have talked about this today, but plants native to California, coastal California, they don't really need to be watered much once they're established. And in California, it rains super heavy in the winter months, but then really rarely the rest of the year, as we can witness in the last few years. And plants have been conditioned and evolved to that over the years, thousands of years, so they will dig deep to reach the water, rather than needing to rely on like weekly, daily watering. And you might notice that if you use a sprinkler, trees that will have a lot of visible roots on the ground, that's because they're trying to reach for that sprinkler where that water goes. But you really want them to go dig deep and reach that groundwater. So to train the roots to actually do this on their own, you want to dig a big deep hole the size of the plant's container into the ground, then fill that entire hole with water, which sounds like a lot of water, but this is an initial thing. So for the smaller plants, this was about 1 gallon of water, and then 2 gallons for the big rose bushes. You're going to wait for the water to absorb completely. With my kind of soil, that took about 30 minutes. And you're going to gently break up the roots into the plant. You're going to put it in the ground and then cover it back with dirt. Then you're going to pack it in nice and tight, and you can stand on it like right next to that's the plant. Stand on it, get it really nice and tight, and make it compact so it'll keep its shape. Then you're going to spread mulch. Then you're going to squeeze the dirt around the mound to make like a donut shape of dirt around the plant. And then you're going to get the mulch that you have around up to the outside of the donut, but you don't want the mulch inside the interior of that donut, because when that gets wet and it gets moldy, that mold can even make the plant look sick. So now you've got that dry inside the donut, and then you're going to pour another ½ gallon of water for the smaller plants and a full gallon for the bigger ones. And then you're going to water them weekly, except for this winter. So I planted these in early December. I only water them once in the beginning of December, and then with all the rain we've had, I haven't needed to water them again. So you need to get them established, but then after that, you really don't need to water them more than once a month in the future, summer. So over the long term, you save a lot of water, and that's really important. Additionally, I added some sticks to help the vine plants kind of reach to get to that fence, and I'm putting little hooks on there to help them climb up rather than a heavy lattice or wire lattice, because I don't like the way that looks. And then the ground cover plants are really there to help protect the other ones, to help like the roses and everything else. And you should add mulch throughout the year to help with the soil, but for me, I have too much dirt in my yard, it's making the flood disgusting, so no more mulch for me. Perfect, okay, so in the spring, when it's a little less windy, I'm gonna put up some solar powered string lights and add a hummingbird feeder, but this will be with red glass so that the hummingbirds, they're attracted to red and to bright colors and flowers. But putting red dye in there actually makes them sick. A lot of places sell it like that, but you don't want the dye. I'm gonna add a bird bath with a solar pump so that the water never stagnates and doesn't attract mosquitoes. I'm gonna add a bee house, which is that little thing right there, just to help give them a little place to live, but not, near a table when I wanna sit down. I'm gonna add bird feeders, vegetable gardens, herb gardens, and I'm gonna work with some elements of permaculture. I've learned lately that ladybugs, while they eat aphids and are awesome, about 90% of the local native ladybugs have actually been poached from SoCal. So that means the alternative right now is mostly this Asian variety that's not native. But I'm going to keep looking for a better alternative to maybe someone here who knows more about the ladybug situation. If the alum root doesn't grow rapidly enough to just kind of walk all over, I might add some stones or drop grasses, because that mulch is, that keeps turning to dirt and having this dirt problem. So eventually, when it starts getting hot, which gets super hot up to like 118 in the summer, I'll add a retractable Town sunscreen. So I'm not quite so worried about the flame retardant that Elon was talking about. So I don't really want a plastic one, but the rattan made out of plastic, so that'll be great. And then, so I've had a lot of flooding problems this year, so I'm gonna have someone from a bioswale program come take a look and see what they can kind of think of a natural flood solution. And then when the space feels complete, I'm gonna try the front, which gets a lot of sun, and kind of thinking again about, okay, what makes more sense for the front. And then if everything's looking good and I can persuade that other HOA board lady, then I'd like to replicate the stuff all over the complex and show her that, hey, there are other things besides grass. It's not gonna hurt the concrete. Concrete will be okay. So that's my plan for the future. But lastly, I took a stab at installing rain barrels. So for me, it was like a Sunday kind of project like that. Well, that sounds complicated. I don't know how to do any of that. But then I went to the last one of these workshops in December, watched someone else talk about it. I was like, you know what? I could try it. What's the worst that could happen? So I took some of these, and actually it's not as intimidating as I thought it would be. So let's talk about rainwater. Yeah. So rainwater is a lot better for plants than city water because there's a lot of chlorine, fluoride, magnesium, and minerals if the water is hard, and SoCal water is typically hard. Rainwater is softer, it's more acidic. And then large leafy trees, you might have this brown-yellow rim on the edge of their leaves, and it's like the salt deposits because a lot of the salty water, or the water here comes from Colorado River, has some more salt. So the rainwater is really, a much better option. And also, I could talk about the Delta Conveyance Project and the State Water Project all day, which is a whole other tangent. But this is one more reason why this is a reason why a lot of farmers and lobbyists in Southern California, they lobby for more water from the Delta and from the State Water Project because they want to get rid of that salt. But that's not the answer. Becoming more dependent on the imported water, that's definitely not the answer. So runoff collects pollution and it heads to lakes and rivers and everything. So that's another reason why we really need to collect as much as we can before it picks up all the yucky stuff and takes it with it. And Connor threw out some numbers, I've got some other numbers. A house with a 1,500 square foot roof in an area that receives 12 inches of rain a year, so that's LA, it's typically 12 inches of rain a year, that can collect 10,800 gallons of water. And this rain barrel right here, that's a 55 gallon. So LA residents in particular use about 112 gallons per day per person for water, and about 35% of that goes to landscaping. And the next one is showing you how much rain we had in 2023 already, just this month. For example, 8 inches in Culver City, 6 inches in Van Nuys. So we've already, if you multiply that out for every square foot on the roof, that's actually quite a bit. Think about schools and warehouses and everything else. Now I'm going to talk next one about how to install the rain barrels. And I will just say first, you want to look up the supplies and measure the space. And I asked Maggie to just double check my list of measurements. She's better at that.
That's Maggie.
That's Maggie. Yeah. Next up, okay, I learned this one the hard way, but you're going to want the rain barrels to be at least 6 inches off the ground so you can fit your watering can and whatever else under it. I found this little pallet, it just been like sitting against a dumpster forever, and I thought, well, let me try this. So I repurposed it, and that's a platform. Next, you'll want to start with the roof. I was scared to get up there, so I hired my friend from Bonnie to do that because I'm a big baby, but she got up to that roof, and you're going to want to take the end cap off of the gutter if you already have one. I did not have a gutter, so I put up gutters, and then start from there. And you're going to want to match that end cap and that hole to where you want the rain barrel to go, so make sure that actually lines up. Makes sense. Next, you're going to cut a hole in the gutter. You can use a drill or an X-Acto knife and just slide the drop outlet in there to match the hole. You're going to secure it with a hanger, put an end cap then at that point after the drop outlet, and then you're going to add a leaf screen, super cheap, flexible, seal it with gutter caulk, and then you're going to cut that downspout to fit the overhang. You're going to connect it with elbows so that it matches the shape of your overhang depending on how big it is, and secure that downspout to the wall with straps. That whole process took under an hour. Next up, so while she did all the hard stuff, I was looking in the jar and I found some safe spoons, so I come back and show you. Next, you might have to reposition the downspout to get it just right, but I mean, it did, and that flexible little thing, that really just kind of made sure that it would fit over the outlet there and kind of where the dryer pushes out the air, so the flexibility was perfect to kind of make sure it goes right over that. And then, and you look at how proud and fun he looks, that's what you do. So, next, you want to make sure you measure that little hole right there, this part, so that you can put another screen over it because mosquitoes can get in through here, and window screen is perfect for that, or other kinds of mesh that wouldn't rust. Next, and you're going to want to measure this part. This, why will save you multiple trips to the hardware store. You want to measure the inside part of these little connector guys. You want to measure the inside part of the tubing and the outside part of the connector, because if it's the inside outside aren't right, it's just not going to work. And you're going to go back and search for it. It's super nice. So thank you. Heck yeah. Or just ask Charmin for mesh. So even better. Next. Okay, so horizontal means closed. I had to just stand there for a bit to figure out, is the water coming out? I don't know. And now I know. Horizontal means closed. So next. Okay, so we're going to want to see if it's actually working. Honestly, I kept checking every 5 minutes all day. I was having so much fun. I was so excited that oh my gosh, we built this thing and it actually works. This is so cool. And I showed Maggie and she's like, wow, it's great. So, very exciting. And then next. So you can be an overachiever and just put out extra buckets and get extra water and just pour it in the rain barrel yourself. And this way, I have some trees over where the rain barrel actually is, so it's not getting, with my second one, it's not getting all the water I wanted to. I wasn't successful in that. so I just put out extra buckets. Next, so these guys are amazing for renters, and while I'm not renting, I don't think I want to live here forever, so I could take it with me. And these were about $25 at Walmart, and so they don't qualify for the rebate programs, but you know it's cheaper than any of the ones that do. And I talked about mesh. Next. So the OU systems, I think enough people talked about them today, but that's going to be my next step of this in the spring maybe when, so right now that soil is super heavy and I don't want to dig through that. So when it dries up a bit, I'm going to try the OU system out and get one with that. And then next, just a few rain barrel tips. So we talked a bit about having it be dark. I won't get into that. I talked about the mesh and the overflow option. So if you don't want to go with the whole gray water system, which I do, like you said, if you have slab or if your shower's on the second floor, it's going to be really expensive and difficult. So I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm just going to have a hose coming out from this in the meantime. And just have the hose go directly underground. If you are going to have a hose, so you'll see up here that at the bottom, there's, well, it's dark, but there at the bottom there's a little spigot where the water comes out. If we've got multiples, so you'll have, you know, your faucet where you can put some yourself. But since I've got two of them and I'm connecting them, I'll use one of them for, you know, putting water directly in my watering can. The second one, I'm going to have a hose buried underground so that the water never stagnates above the uncompost, like you said. And some of the common problems are just, you know, if you get a tear in this, this stuff's really durable, and like I said, I did not think about how heavy they are moved after they're on the platform, and I might have, you know, wrestled with it. And these things, you really can't put a hole in them. But if you do, you can use a tech repair kit to fix them, so that's awesome. And then they make little biological mosquito control donut shaped tablets, and you just throw it in there, one for a year and you're good. Right, and then next. So just quickly for the rebate programs in LA, this is what you could get if you use the hard shell rain barrels. So not these guys, but if you have like a hard plastic one, we saw a bunch on Craigslist and they're completely free, you just have to go get them. You can also go to myrainplan.com and they'll help you find rebates and supplies anywhere in the United States. If you live in the Metropolitan Water District area, which so far everyone who's talking here in this room does, you can go to SoCalWatersmart.com and they'll give you a list of the rebates for rain barrels and turf replacement and any other water savers for the entire area. And then bewaterwise.com has other really good tips, other ways to save water home. So if you need help, there's, you know, lots of folks around here that can help out. You can also check the American Rainwater Catchment System Association, ARCSA.org, and they will help you find someone in your area who can install these things for you. You can reach out to your local Sierra Club chapter here. I mean, there's so many intelligent people in this room that find stuff. Or wherever you are, your chapter probably knows somebody. And Bonnie, she will help out in the LA area up through Southern Central Valley, the girl that helped me. And then finally, last one, a lot of people have said, hey, isn't that illegal to collect rainwater in California? No, it was illegal until 2012, and that wasn't because no, they want the environment to suffer. It was just to make sure that big commercial industries didn't try to just capture all the rainwater and then disrupt the natural flows in the watersheds. So we do that. So last one is just a few links of places to look and other things. Now I think we're ready for Q&A.